Oh, hello. On Monday, April 21st, Wizards of the Coast made an unprecedented announcement that will have consequences players will feel for as long as Magic the Gathering is a game. And no, I am not being hyperbolic. Due to licensing problems, the standard legal, full-sized Marvel Spider-Man expansion set, which comes out in September of this year, will not be released onto either of Magic's two digital platforms, Magic Arena and Magic Online. I will say that again. Marvel's Spider-Man will not be on Magic Arena or Magic Online. Instead, Wizards of the Coast has announced a new digital product line called Through the Omen Paths. Through the Omen Paths will be a mechanically identical corollary set to the Marvel Spider-Man set, but with completely different names and completely different artworks. In other words, Sensational Spider-Man, the 3/3 Spider human hero for 1 generic, 1 blue, and 1 white mana that taps and stuns a creature anytime it attacks, then lets you remove some stun counters from among all permanents to draw some cards, will have a corresponding Through the Omen Paths card that has a different name and different artwork, but is the same card. It's also a 3/3 Spider human hero for 1 generic, 1 blue, 1 white that taps and stuns a creature anytime it attacks, then lets you remove a few stun counters from yada yada yada. So it's one card, it's the same card, but it's got 2 names and 2 artworks, only one of which features Spidey doing a high kick. The other one, I don't know, maybe it's Jace doing a high kick? And this will also be the case for every single card in the complete set. This is not a secret layer of 5 cards with 5 in-universe versions that we are talking about here. This is a complete 240 whatever card standard legal set. Every single card will have 2 different artworks. Every single card will have 2 different names. An absolute nightmare for so many, many reasons, which I am about to cover. Now, how exactly they plan to design a spider human hero that is distinct enough from Spider-Man to not get sued remains to be seen, but that's what they're gonna do. And they will also do this for every other card in the set, from Doc Ock to Venom to Spider-Gwen to Uncle Ben to Spidey's Web Slinger to Pumpkin Bombs. And these in-universe Through the Omen Paths cards will only be released online. It won't be possible to buy these universes within versions of Spider-Man cards in paper for those who might like to at least opt out of Marvel the Gathering. But this isn't something they are doing for all universes beyond sets. No. This is just for Spider-Man, for now, because they were unable to secure the digital rights. Both the Final Fantasy set and the Avatar: The Last Airbender set will be on Magic's digital platforms, for instance. But all future standard legal Marvel sets will also receive Through the Omen Paths versions, as will sets for any other property with rights that are difficult to acquire. So, presumably that means if there was ever going to be a Disney property crossover set like Star Wars, well, in that example, there would have to be 2 names and 2 artworks for every card as well. There's a lot to unpack here, but more than anything, this is an utter embarrassment. Wizards of the Coast doesn't own the rights to its own game in a sense. Wizards is releasing a product that will be integral to every Magic format, and they do not have the right to put it on their digital platforms, ever. The digital and paper game, which up until this point, Wizards had put in considerable effort to keep in alignment, will now be split forever. Not mechanically, but in a nonetheless real way that players will feel for a very, very long time. When you start to dig into what this decision means for the future of Magic the Gathering, both the immediate future and the distant future, for competitive play as well as for casual play, the outcome is an utter, irrevocable mess. So why exactly is this a mess? How did Wizards get themselves into this situation? And, most importantly, what does it mean for you, the player, now and in the future? Good questions. Let's discuss. Blah 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 blah. Marvel's Spider-Man is a complete standard legal set that will likely have around, 250, 300 cards. Every single one of those cards, at least every single one that isn't a reprint of an existing Magic the Gathering card, will receive a separate digital-only printing with new art and a new name, but identical mechanics right down to the hero and villain creature type. In other words, in order to play Magic the Gathering, you will need to learn the names and artwork for about 300 cards twice. It's hard enough learning all the cards in a new set, even for experienced players. Learning them twice is a nightmare, especially for new players. And this isn't a temporary inconvenience. This will be the case forever. Nor is it something that we only have to endure for a single set, because this is how it will work for every single Marvel set. There's more Marvel sets coming, remember, and it'll also work this way for any other set featuring an IP that Wizards couldn't get the digital rights for. There are at least 2 more Marvel sets on the horizon, at least 2 more, and it's not gonna stop there either. What if we get, a Zelda set? Do you think Nintendo is willingly gonna give up the digital rights for Zelda cards? Yeah, right. Online and paper Magic are supposed to be one cohesive entity. The online metagame shapes the paper metagame and vice versa. It's always been easy to take a sweet list you found from a big paper tournament and load it onto Magic Arena or Magic Online to play it yourself. It's also been straightforward to download a cool deck that won a Magic Online challenge and load it into anything from Card Kingdom to TCG Player to buy the cards you want to play yourself in paper. That's no longer the case. Moving forward, to transcribe a paper deck list into an online deck list or vice versa, you need to go in and manually change each Marvel card yourself. You at least need to know which Marvel card is which in-universe Magic card for the entire set. If you're drafting the Omen Paths version of the Marvel set on Arena and then you want to go down to your local game store to draft, or in the opposite direction, if you show up to a Marvel pre-release and then later want to play Marvel Limited Online, you'll be confronted with packs containing entirely different card names and entirely different card arts than what you're used to. So the problem is annoying for everyone, but it's especially difficult for new players who are already trying to learn a billion details about one of the most complex and complicated games of all time. Given that the primary purpose of Universes Beyond is to attract new players to Magic, this is a disaster. Imagine being a Marvel fan who is excited to get into Magic through the Spider-Man set. You buy some packs at your local game store and you fall in love with this great game. Maybe you go down to Friday Night Magic for draft or to build a standard deck to play, and you say, wow, Magic is so fun, I wish I didn't just have to play it here at the game store once a week. And one of your opponents says, good news, you can play Magic the Gathering anytime you want on Magic Arena or Magic Online. So you run home excited to play with your Marvel Magic the Gathering cards on your computer 24/7. You download Magic Arena or you download Magic Online and you start looking for where your beloved cards are, and where are they? There's no Spider-Man here, there's just, magnanimous Guildhood Arachnid guy. I don't know what they're gonna call it, but if this were me, all my excitement about this fun new game would drain away in that instant. Here's another example. Imagine being a returning player who had stepped away for a couple of years. You come back and are trying to get up to speed with the game again, and you come across these Marvel sets and their online counterparts. You'll have to learn all these corresponding cards from scratch, all at once if you want to play again. And if that were me, I'd maybe just not come back. It would be one thing if Through the Omen Paths were being released in paper alongside the Marvel set. There'd still be a lot of confusion, and that's still not an ideal situation, but it would at least create a default version of the card that's in universe and make the Marvel cards merely a skin, which is what they always should have been. But now, in a way, the Magic versions that are made for online play are just skins of the Marvel versions. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Nobody outside of Wizards or Disney knows for sure how this happened, but we can speculate a little bit. We know that licensing the Warhammer 40k cards for use on Magic Online was a legal headache for Wizards of the Coast. Those cards, despite their power level and their significant relevance in Legacy, were not on Magic Online for a very long time due to difficult negotiations with Games Workshop, the company that makes Warhammer 40k. Eventually, they agreed to a deal allowing Magic Online players to buy complete Warhammer decks for a limited time, which led to many Magic the Gathering players buying as many copies of these decks as they could, expecting the best cards to go up in price once the products were no longer purchasable, possibly ever again. And they were right. Poxwalkers, a 3-mana recursive black creature that's fantastic in Dredge-style decks, is a $67 card, while Mawloc and Chaos Defiler are each $35? What? So there's precedent for legal issues to interfere with certain cards, making their way onto Magic Online, specifically Doctor Who, which is still not on Magic Online. This has never been more than a mild annoyance before, since this only affects online Commander players, of which there are very few, and Legacy players who are used to WotC's neglect. But these same legal problems affecting a standard set is an entirely different thing. From now until the end of time, the digital experience for every single one of Magic's formats will be different from the paper experience for those same formats. So why is this even happening? How did we get here? Well, my best guess is that Disney refused to relinquish exclusive rights to digital Marvel cards because of Marvel Snap. Marvel Snap is a popular mobile game reminiscent of Magic or Hearthstone. The game is digital only and is played with digital cards featuring popular Marvel characters. It's reasonable to assume Disney did not want there to exist two different digital Marvel Spider-Man cards. Now, there's no reason why they couldn't have two different digital Marvel Spider-Man cards. No one is actually going to get Marvel Snap's Spider-Man confused with Magic the Gathering's Spider-Man. This seems to me like a matter of corporate muscle flexing. Disney owns the rights to something and they have no interest in sharing those rights. But how did this happen on WotC's end? Why would they agree to a deal that would box them out of parity between their digital and paper game forever? Well, this is the part that I find rather grim. Absent any real behind-the-scenes insight, we must assume that Wizards of the Coast was well aware of the logistical nightmare from the beginning and decided to move forward anyway, which, honestly, I find even sadder. That would mean Wizards of the Coast was fully aware that a Marvel Magic set would irrevocably split the digital and paper experience of their flagship card game, and they decided the money that they would make from their paper Marvel set would be worth it. The disaster, the damage is worth the money. Regardless of whether you agree with me about the severity of these consequences, there is no question that this is a negative outcome for the game. Even the most fervent Universes Beyond defender would be hard-pressed to argue that the game gets better when hundreds upon hundreds of standard legal cards have one set of names, one set of artwork online, and a different set in paper. Universes Beyond has always obviously been driven more by profit than any other motivating factor. You don't need to be on the Hasbro board of directors to recognize that. But up until now, there were obfuscating factors that did enough to justify Universes Beyond's existence, to maintain a sort of balance in the discourse. The appeal of Universes Beyond has to potential new players, the subsequent growth of the game, a varying ability to opt out, and so on. This decision is the first Universes Beyond announcement that undeniably makes the game worse, and is therefore the first Universes Beyond decision that transparently, unabashedly, and to be totally honest, insultingly places profit margins above the good of the game. Actually, that's not exactly true. I'm not really astounded. I wish I was, but I'm not. I actually think this was inevitable, an inevitable destination point of Universes Beyond. The moment that Wizards of the Coast decided to increase their reliance on outside IP to the point of making half of all of Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond just to drive profit margins up and up and up and up, well, it was inevitable that their ability to justify those decisions from a game health perspective would deteriorate rapidly. We went from seeing universes beyond as something only occurring in secret layers, to something that only occurred in secret layers and Commander products, to something that only occurred in secret layers and Commander products and in direct-to-modern sets, to now something that is in 50% of all Magic releases, including Standard, and therefore something that is simply in every aspect of the game, leading to this point where there is no escape and no opportunity to ever opt out, ever again. The trajectory here was clear. From the moment the extremely legacy-relevant Warhammer cards were almost kept off of Magic Online, it became inevitable that we'd be here one day. Up until now, criticisms of Universes Beyond were matters of taste. It was hard to argue that a Samwise Gamgee Magic card, or a Cloud card, or even a Spiderman card meaningfully detracted from the game from any perspective other than aesthetics, other than, hey, my personal preference is that we should have kept Magic IP, but it's just a matter of taste, right? Sure, it's obviously a cash grab, but at the end of the day, it didn't make that much of a difference to the game, except in terms of that personal taste, that personal preference. But that is no longer true. This decision marks an undeniable shift. A precedent has been set that Wizards of the Coast is willing to sacrifice player experience for the sake of profit margins. And if they're willing to sacrifice an inch of player experience now, then who's to say they won't be willing to sacrifice a mile in the next 5 years? Remember, when Universes Beyond was announced, Mark Rosewater assured us that it was, quote-unquote, just an additional cool thing they're doing that isn't going to affect any of the other cool things that they do. And now, here we are a few years later, and half of all of Magic the Gathering is Universes Beyond. Universes Beyond is ever present in every format of Magic the Gathering, including Standard. Universes Beyond pushed back the release of the eagerly anticipated Return to Lorwyn set, just to make room for Avatar: The Last Airbender. If that much has changed in this short a period of time, how much more will have changed a few years from now? And I am genuinely afraid of what will change in the next 5 years. I am afraid of what else Wizards of the Coast will decide is worth sacrificing about this game that we love in order to boost profits up and up and up. I would like to see a return to decisions that are based on the game's quality. I would like to see a return to decisions that are based on the game's substance. And more than anything, I would like to see Wizards of the Coast willing to say no to profit if it means damaging the game's quality and player experience. But of course, as always, that is just what I think, and now I want to hear from you. What do you think of Through the Omen Paths? What do you think of the Spider-Man Universes Beyond standard legal Magic the Gathering set, having 2 versions of every single card? Let me know in the comments below. And you know what? All of this did start with Secret Lair: The Walking Dead, and if you would like to revisit what I said about that back then, you can do so here or linked in this video's description. But whether you watch that video or just our latest Shuffle Up and Play with Allie Beardsley, Spice8 Rack, and Jesse Robkin, I hope very much me winding on and on about this upcoming change to Magic the Gathering has been of some interest to you. Let me know what you think the years ahead will bring for Magic the Gathering. More Universes Beyond, or perhaps a pulling back point? Could we ever reach a day where there is no Universes Beyond over a given year of Magic the Gathering? I'm curious to know, so let me know in the comments below. Next time on Shuffle Up and Play.
I've got a very special deck. This was a plot. A scheme, rather.
Our lead director came up to me before shooting and just said, "Prof, just go with it when you see it. Don't start frowning, just go with it, please." They've been trying to troll me with this for a month now. They've been going on and on about it, and I don't know what this deck is.
Llanowar Elves.
Oh,
the classic.
6th edition. Your turn.
Oh, 6th
edition.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna flash in Gandalf. This is a card art.
That card. That was the one in the Secret Lair where it was like 42 cents worth of cards.
So I got loot.
Oh, you got loot too.
Yeah.
Hey.
No, loot times 2.
is 6.
I think I'm starting to hate what you hate.
Yeah.
All of this looks crazy.
You must have just subscribed to Tellurian Community
Yeah,
College.
I think
I am literally going to shuffle up and
Yeah, let's hear it. Ooh.
I'm at 5 time counters, just
Be careful.
so you know.
Prof doesn't misplay.
That's right.
Prof does bad plays.
That's like the underside of a female pig.
I'm not even mad. This episode is probably never going to air. This
Like-
I don't even care. How much Magic 30 did you buy?
I don't want to talk about it.
Do I look like I care? I'll just pick
Garner.
Shut up! Let me ask you this, idiot!
How much better does Soul Ring make Batman?
This is the kind of.
Yikes.
You can do it.
Land the shot.
Smash it. Ooh. Oh my god.
It's the most
Yikes.
sub card I've ever seen in my life. I have no idea how it works.
I think I